All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking something absolutely fascinating: the psychology of silence. Specifically, we're looking at this brilliant concept called the silent architecture of observation. Now, you hear architecture and you probably picture, skyscrapers or loud construction sites. But what if the most complex structures out there are built entirely out of quiet moments? In this explainer, we're going to explore how certain people build a massive understanding of the world around them, literally just by keeping quiet. It's a real game changer of a psychological framework, and the way it breaks down social dynamics, honestly, it's incredibly eye-opening. So right off the bat, ask yourself, are you observing or are you just participating? Think about the last time you were in a meeting, at a dinner party, or, I don't know, just hanging out with friends. Were you actually studying the room, or were you just swept up in the whole shebang? For most of us, we default to participating, right? We wait for our turn to speak, we share our stories, we just react to what's right in front of us. But this framework challenges that default completely by drawing a hard line between these two actions. And as you'll see, treating these as two totally distinct modes of operating changes literally everything about how we perceive our environment.
Okay, let's jump straight into Section 1, Observers versus Participants. So, what exactly is the silent architecture of observation? Basically, it defines the psychology of individuals who actually prefer observing to participating. And hold on, this is a really crucial distinction. Being quiet here isn't about being shy, lacking confidence, or just spacing out and doing nothing. No, it's a deliberate, active psychological preference. These folks are making a conscious choice. They prefer to observe. They're constructing a map of the room, laying down this invisible architecture of knowledge, simply by choosing not to jump into the fray. It totally reframes silence from this passive, empty thing into a highly active state of engagement.
Moving right along, let's look at Section 2, the direction of information.
Now, there's a real mechanical difference in how these two groups handle communication, and it all boils down to the directional flow of data. Participants, well, they're focused on giving information out. When you participate, you're outputting. You're broadcasting your thoughts, your opinions, your jokes. All your mental energy is pushing outward. But observers, they are entirely focused on bringing information in. They're pulling the environment's data toward themselves. And the thing is, you really can't do both at the exact same time with maximum efficiency. By choosing not to output, the observer radically increases their capacity for input. It's like flipping a switch. So the absolute crucial point we need to hit here is that silence is treated as a strategic tool. Observers literally use silence to bring information in. And I want to emphasize the word use here. Silence isn't the absence of an action, the silence is the action. It's a wide open receiver. Think about it. When your mouth is closed, your eyes and ears can go into overdrive. The observer is utilizing silence like a giant net to catch all that verbal and nonverbal data floating around the room, stuff that the participants are simply too busy talking to even notice.
Let's check out Section 3, Seeing the Unseen. This inward flow of data unlocks what is basically a hidden superpower, which is recognizing things that others completely miss. It's actually a very simple but incredibly powerful three-step psychological mechanism. Step 1, use silence. You establish that baseline. Step 2, bring information in. All that data naturally flows towards you because, well, you aren't busy pushing your own data out. And then, finally, Step 3, the real culmination of this whole architecture. Notice patterns and reactions. Because you've gathered so much pure, unfiltered input, your brain can finally start connecting the dots. You aren't just hearing what people are saying anymore, you're actually seeing the underlying structure of how they operate. And because they aren't bogged down giving information out, observers uniquely capture these specific environmental cues. They pick up on the patterns and reactions that everyone else totally misses. Think about what that actually looks like in the real world. A pattern could be, say, noticing who always interrupts whom, or how the entire energy of a room shifts the second a certain topic is brought up. A reaction? That's that tiny micro-expression on someone's face when they hear bad news, just a split second before they mask it with a polite smile. Participants miss all of this because their cognitive load is entirely tied up in formulating their next sentence. But the observer, they catch it all. They see the real dynamic of the room playing out right beneath the surface of the conversation.
So, before we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to ask yourself, what patterns are you missing when you forget to be silent? Seriously, if the architecture of observation relies on bringing information in rather than giving it out, then every single time we rush to speak, we're actively shutting off our ability to truly see the room. The next time you find yourself in a crowded space, try just embracing the silence for a bit. You might be completely blown away by the hidden world of patterns and reactions that suddenly reveals itself to you.